Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about astrology and the death of Sophie. Now, Sophie, as many of you may know, she was a renowned singer, songwriter, musician. She produced records as well. Very versatile person. Obviously, she had died as a result, according to some reports, of some accident. She was trying to view the full moon, and that's all it stated. I don't know, what she was actually climbing, but she had fallen, or I guess, and she succumbed to some injury after falling, sadly. Now, I wanted to be talking about some natal placements and transits that might have been that might have contributed to this sort of sad, untimely passing. Now, the thing about this is looking at, I don't have a time of birth, so I had to improvise and do a solar/sunrise chart in which I put the sun at the same point as the ascendant. Born September 17th, 1986, Glasgow, Scotland. Puts her sun at Virgo, of course, and the moon in Pisces. And the thing about this is looking at, just that combination, how that could manifest. Sun in Virgo, obviously, there's a focus on a lot of details, industry, hard work, and being in Pisces. Pisces is this. The moon being in Pisces. Pisces can be connected with dancing. I would say music, at least to some degree. And it's stated on Wikipedia that I don't know if she had stated this, but somebody at least had stated this was like a surrealist type quality. Pisces is very dreamy energy. So a lot of this work went into her, the Virgo, industrious, the basic character of having the sun in Virgo, being very industrious, hardworking, being very precise, punctilious with details. Perhaps that energy went into the moon in Pisces, being as far as music and music that could be connected, like a dance, maybe quality to it. There was something on Wikipedia that said there was something like an underground, dance style or something similar to that. You might want to confirm that on Wikipedia. But the thing about it is, she also, looking at the chart and natal placements and transits that might have been tied into this. Now, in the solar sunrise chart, she has Aries on the cusp of the 8th house, so that could be a death due to something, due to some accident. She also has in the solar sunrise chart Mars in the 4th house, and that could be another indicator. That could be the end of life, something, an accident taking place at that latter or end part of one's life. And another thing too is that she also had transit North Node not far from her natal Chiron. So it's in Gemini. So when you have transits that involve the North Node, it can be about issues one may have to address or confront. And the thing about that is, when you have transit North Node not far from one's Chiron, even if it may not have been conjunct as far as transiting orbs go, that could still be about having to, to some, could still manifest, I would say, in some issue where one may have to address or confront some issue connected with some kind of wound, some kind of injury. Gemini, she may have, when she died, when she fell during the accident, could have been some injuries to the arms, the hands, the fingers, being that this was in Gemini. And also at this time, she also had transit Uranus and Mars in the 8th house of death at this time in the solar sunrise chart. Transit Uranus in the 8th house can give a little greater propensity for some death that could be of an unusual, very spontaneous manner. And transit Mars in the 8th house could be a death that could be volatile, or could have some kind of serious, could have some physical injury, accidental. And being in Taurus, there may also have been some injury that might have been to her throat or neck area at the time of her passing. Also, in the solar sunrise chart, she has Uranus conjunct the fourth house cusp, so that could be another indicator. It could be something of the end of life that comes, very shockingly, very suddenly. Uh, Looking at this as well, another thing that's not connected with her death, I'm going to go off on a Gemini moon tangent here, but she has something interesting. She has Pluto and Venus conjunct in Scorpio. Now, it was stated, I believe on Wikipedia, that she had a certain, secretive, mysterious style, when she dressed concealing, part of her, at least part of her herself. And Venus can be connected with what we wear, our clothes and fashion, and having Pluto conjuncted in the sign of mysterious Scorpio, it's not surprising that that's how she may have dressed. And the thing is, this is and really another thing too. What I'm looking at as well, and in the fourth house, she does have not just Mars in the fourth house in the solar sunrise chart, Neptune in it as well. And that could be an indicator in some cases as the dissolving somehow or of that latter or end of life period. Another thing too is I notice is that based on the solar sunrise chart and time that's used, that her moon in Pisces makes a conjunction to Jupiter. So Jupiter conjunct the moon by itself and falls in the sixth house of work and employment. Now Jupiter in conjunct the moon by itself can sometimes, I would say, give a greater proclivity toward luck and fortune in public recognition. I mean, because the moon could actually be connected with the public and how we might be publicly recognized, and Jupiter can be fortuitous for that when it conjuncts the moon. The fact it's in Pisces, well, she was known for like her music and the dance style to it. I don't know if she had anything with poetry, anything rhyming with the lyrics, but in her music, because I don't know really that much about what she sang or anything, but it wouldn't surprise me being this conjunction being in Pisces, it would be something that was very maybe some songs were rhyming, had some poetry in them, and also the surrealist quality, which I was talking about, based on what I saw on Wikipedia.org. Now, another thing too, I mean, looking at the chart is she also has what I would consider, some may see it controversial, but I see it as one, where she has a mutable mutable Grand Cross configuration. Now, as many of you may have heard that the Grand Cross is referred to often as something that could have a lot of tribulation, adversity, and also the cross to bear. Now, the Sun in Virgo, connected with the focus on a lot of hard work, being diligent, being industrious, and having Uranus in the mix, Uranus in Sagittarius. I mean, there was some kind of electronic techno style that was connected with her music. And then having that Jupiter in Pisces she has, it appears to be retrograde, so that could be about generating one's own luck through, could be some kind of music, maybe some kind of, in this case, maybe some music that had dancing quality to it, surrealist kind. And then when you have Chiron in Gemini, that could be about helping others, healing others through diction, through words, through what's being spoken, and even expressing versatility. Chiron is conjunct her midheaven. So you're wondering, well, how could that be a cross to bear? Well, the thing about it is, this could have been a lot of relentless work an energy that might have taken that this really may have involved uh, for her. And I mean, when you have it, I would say, I mean, especially in mutable signs, energy that had a lot of the cross to bear, had to keep doing this, and the stress that might have involved in, again, being immutable signs could be one that might have produced prodigious anxiety, stress, maybe even worry at some point. Um, but it could also show tremendous adaptability with a lot of obstructions to have to work through, unfortunately. And really, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in her chart that that might be tied in with her passing, sadly. And the thing about it is, having the Sun making that opposition to Jupiter is part of that, what I call the Grand Cross, mutable Grand Cross configuration. It could be somebody that may not have gotten, no matter what she did. Could it be prosperity, being in Jupiter, perhaps? Maybe, just the enthusiasm, exuberance, not no matter what, not being able to express enough enthusiasm and exuberance for what, perhaps for what she was doing. Thing is, the thing is also looking at this chart as well, is that she does have a lot of mutable energy in it, and tells me that somebody obviously that was very adaptable, was the kind of person that probably made a lot of compromises in relationships. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, and it just again, this is this is a shame that something like this had to happen. And you're hearing so many things about people dying, well, what we would think before their time. She had transit Pluto in the fourth house. That could have happened in her home. This death then. Another thing is, at the time of her passing as well, what I'm noticing is that she has transit Moon was in the 12th house in the solar sunrise chart. And you're talking about the Moon. Could be one, I mean, Moon can be connected with the soul, and when you have it hitting the 12th house, it could be, that's could be going away from the soul, because the 12th house is a house of endings, it's restrictions and limitations. And being in Virgo, it could be one that may have been tied in, connected with being, very service oriented, helpful, punctilious with details. Being able, being analytical. Uh, in the Sun, of course, I mean, you look at her, her Sun being in Virgo again, it's just somebody that really dedicated a lot of her life, I'm sure, to being industrious and hardworking, being very precise with things, punctual, being helpful with others, very health conscious, I'm sure. And again, having the Moon in Pisces, that could have been done with a lot of idealism and wanting, and done with imagination, with the songwriting. And the thing is, too, one other thing that I'm noticing as well is that transit South Node was making a pretty close conjunction to her natal Uranus at this time. And we're talking about the South Node hitting a point in a chart. It could be something that could adversely be connected with the planet it's hitting. And the fact that it's near the fourth house cusp, coupled with the fact it's Uranus, that could have made this, maybe it manifested in something very negative, with some kind of, unusual, unanticipated, shocking type of end of life, and for a person. And the thing is, this is also something too. I mean, Uranus is connected, with things that are innovative as well, and having this in the third house in the solar sunrise chart, it's an indicator, you know, that her what she, as far as what she wrote, might have had a very unique eclectic style to it, but sadly having the transit south node hitting it, that could signify the ending of that this is something where there's a when, because the south node could be about what we're going away from. And again, this is something where, I mean, this was a, sad, obviously something very tragic, something very sad that had transpired. And my prayers and condolences do go out to her close friends and family if they do, by any remote chance they happen to see this video. Another thing too is, based on the solar sunrise chart, I found interesting is that she had all the planets were below the horizon in houses 1 through 6, so it's an indicator of being a lot more introverted and introspective, as opposed to gregarious and outgoing. So it made this, I mean, I could commend people, especially when they have a chart that's very introverted and insular, they're more to themselves. It makes it harder to actually do things on a more gregarious level, and a level where you may receive some notoriety, acclaim, and recognition. Again, though, this is a solar sunrise chart. I don't know the time of her birth, so I don't really know what her actual as far as what her chart was, but it wouldn't surprise me that her actual natal chart had more planets on the top half of the chart, because I've noticed with a lot of famous people, there seems to be more on average, at least a little bit more on average, where you have the preponderance of planets on the top half of the chart in contrast to the bottom. Those people are more inclined, have greater proclivity toward more of a public life, in contrast to a private one. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.